We are Pro Cannabis Media.
The cannabis industry may be a relatively new business for many, but women have very quickly carved out a leadership role in its inception. Lady Jane Branding has been at the forefront of realizing the importance of matching a brand with the soul of that business. Lady Jane's co-founder, Jennifer Whetzel, has been leading the way. Now, she's on In the Weeds with Jimmy Young.
Don't look now, but it's a whole new world of weed out there. Pot is flower, it's Bruce Banner and Blue Dream. You've got bongs and dabs, resin and shatter, vaping and edibles, new terms, new strains, and new ways to use cannabis sativa, the plant. Some just made with CBD, and hemp has minimal THC. There's sativa and indica strains, and 100 chemicals, all legal in 10 states for adult use. There's a lot to get to know. Get used to it, folks, because it's legal in the Bay State and it's not going away. Neither is In the Weeds with Jimmy Young next. Revolutionary Clinics is just one of 49 medical cannabis dispensaries in Massachusetts, but there's a reason why it's one of the most popular. It's their patient-first philosophy. All day long, they teach, they educate, they communicate about this complicated plant called cannabis sativa. That's true whether you visit their Cambridge location in Fresh Pond at 110 Fawcett Street or at 67 Broadway in Somerville. Revolutionary Clinics, where the patient comes first.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on location at the CWCB Expo, which is at the Heinz Auditorium in Boston, Massachusetts. And one of the things I love about this cannabis industry is going to these conferences and running into people that you met at a conference and have since become friendly with them and continue to be friendly with them. Jennifer Whetzel, thank you so much. Good to see you again.
It's so good to see you too.
And I am so proud to wear my I'm an Eternal Child archetype. Why don't you explain to those who may not have seen our first act together, Jen, what an archetype is?
Absolutely. Archetypes are universal characters that you'd recognize in any story, like a hero or an outlaw or a lover. And so when I say those characters, you can probably bring to mind the characteristics of those. And so when you use those in your branding and you know which archetype you are, it can help you build a brand identity if you use those characteristics in your branding. And it helps customers understand your brand better and make a stronger emotional connection.
Well, I hope they do that with Pro Cannabis Media and understand that even though I am an eternal child, I'm still a relatively mature adult who preaches responsible use of this product, and we continue to do that. Jen, tell me what you're up to now, because I know there's a new exciting venture in your world.
I'm up to a bunch. The biggest and newest venture that I have is I'm launching a study of professional women's experience in the cannabis industry. And I'm sponsoring an event in December, the National Women of Cannabis Conference. And that's going to happen on December 10th, the day before MJBizCon starts.
In Las Vegas?
Yes.
And am I on the media list?
I don't know, but we need to get you on the media list.
I still haven't booked my flight yet, but I will be.
Yep, be there for the 10th.
Yes, I will.
So we are launching this study there, and I'm partnering with Wolf Research and Consulting. She is a medical sociologist, a PhD from academia. And so this study is going to be academically rigorous. At the moment, we're beyond 75 questions. But what we're going to be doing is asking women to tell us their experiences of working in the cannabis industry. So, and we're going to be putting out content every month for a year. So each month there's going to be a new theme, and we're going to put out infographics. So, for example, who are the women of cannabis? Demographics. Psychographics and personality archetypes, which will be very interesting. We're going to look at whether cannabis use is a prerequisite for working in the industry and whether there's any shame around that use still. We're going to look at how women got into the industry, why they got into the industry, what kind of barriers they face, and if those barriers are different for men. We're going to look at leadership opportunities, educational opportunities, balance and self-care. Their experiences in working with men, discrimination and harassment. Their experiences in working with
They're not always discriminated and harassed by men, right? Okay.
Not. That's what the numbers are going to tell us. That's the point of the survey.
We know it exists.
We need to have hard numbers so that we can address it. Because if we're just guessing, then how can we put policies in place to figure out how to make this a better industry for everyone?
Why? And I've met quite a few impressive women in all types of life here, but especially here in the cannabis industry, especially with startups. They see it as an opportunity to not necessarily control, but carve out a big majority, little majority, certainly enough of a role to really impact the direction of the industry. I know you know quite a few of them. Some of them are right in Maine. In fact, I got to meet Patricia Rossi, which was awesome. But why do you think, is it just because of the opportunity that women say, you know what, I can do this?
That's a great question. And that's another one that we're going to try and figure out with this study is why? Yeah. What's happening and how do women feel about what's happening? Because we don't have those hard numbers to look at to address what's going on. All we have are anecdotes. And as we know, in the cannabis industry, anecdotes are not acceptable as evidence. We keep trying to use it. So let's get some numbers.
And we are moving in that direction. We certainly understand what's going on in Washington, D.C., that they've made a couple of big steps down there. Haven't taken that final step yet, but they've certainly gone more. They've gotten a lot further along than I ever expected them to get at this point in time. You know what's going on with the Safe Banking Act now. And anyway, so back to the gender thing, you still see this conflict between these multi-state operators, and a lot of states like Maine are trying to protect the caregivers and the local mom and pop operators. Therein lies the opportunity, I'm guessing, not just for women, but for men too, to start a new business, a new career, a new life.
Absolutely. I think there's significant opportunity for craft operators, for women, for veterans, for minorities, particularly in Maine, because the barriers to entry are somewhat smaller than in Massachusetts. And, one of the things that I try and counsel people is that the ones who are going to be successful when not just the multi-state operators, because that's not who I'm worried about, it's the multinational CPG companies who are just sitting on the sidelines watching everybody fight it out. Right. They're going to pop in the minute it's legal. And you know how much money they have for marketing and branding and advertising? It's a lot. So it's the brands that do the best job at making that connection with a consumer. It's the brands that have a loyal following. It's the brands who have customers who wear their T-shirts and have beautiful packaging. That matters. This is going to be a beauty pageant.
In Massachusetts, they don't allow the cannabis industry to actually have T-shirts, cups, mugs, pins, bumper stickers.
I do. And that's unfortunate.
I believe that's going to change. I heard Shalene, I heard her say, we're working on that. It's going to change.
Well, I tried to open a new page on Facebook for my Women in Cannabis study. Denied because cannabis is a forbidden word on Facebook. Forbidden word, which just blows my mind that we're being censored in that way. But that's how it is for now. So we just have to work around it until things change.
There is a workaround because Pro Cannabis Media does have a Facebook page. So,
I figured it out, but yeah.
It's a shame that you have to figure it out.
Right? It is. At this point. Yep.
What else can we expect from Lady Jane Branding? Where are we going to see you? You're doing a big show, I know, at MJ BizCon in Las Vegas. But what else is on the docket? You guys show up at different places. I'm always amazed to see you.
Well, one of the other things that I'm working on, this is not a place-based thing, but is my brand camp curriculum. And so the first class launched, and it's an online class. So no one has to actually go anywhere to do this one. You can do it in your pajamas. And the course is to teach you how to write messaging that is compliant with the FDA. So if you are a brand that wants to get purchased by someone else, you'd rather not get in trouble with the FDA. So in this class are exactly the words you should never use in your packaging and marketing and advertising, the words that might get you in trouble if you do it wrong.
And every state is different.
Well, there's federal, which is
Really restrictive.
really restrictive, and people don't know how restrictive I do. So I've packaged it all nicely with videos and quizzes, and if you get an 80 or above on the final test, you can have some time with me for free.
Whoa, that's invaluable.
Right. So, but
Because I've hung out with you.
but the best part about the course is it's not just here's all the things you can't do, but a solution. So here's what to do instead. So talking about features and benefits and using words that make an emotional connection with people. So there's,
Can you give me an example?
well, so the segmentation, the model that I use, I break down into 4 emotional themes that you can use to talk about cannabis. And so they are action and introspection and enjoyment and a whole bunch of others, innovation, guidance. And so I've got examples of ads that look like that and use those emotional themes, like one that talks about exploration. You know, there's one that talks about, the headline is Open Joy. So, you know, rather than make a health claim where you're going to disappoint someone if you don't cure their cancer, it's not a good marketing strategy because you're going to piss people off if they're not cured. So why don't you talk about joy instead?
Positive approach to life.
Yeah, and if the placebo effect works there, you're just going to make people happy.
Nothing wrong with placebo effects, okay? Because the mind is the power, right?
Right, exactly. So I want people to talk about cannabis in a way that makes it more accessible, that destigmatizes it, and educates people.
That's Jennifer Whetzel from Lady Jane Branding. And we thank you so much for stopping by the press office that we've commandeered here at the Heinz Auditorium in Boston. And always a pleasure to see you. Best of luck. And I will see you in Las Vegas on the 10th.
Yes, you will. Thank you, Jimmy.
For Jennifer Whetzel, I'm Jimmy Young. This has been In the Weeds. And, of course, this is always available on iTunes. It's available on Spotify. It's available on the Pro Cannabis Media social media channels and outlets and all that neat stuff. But remember, folks, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.